Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Red Dirt and Stardust, a science fiction Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition Western and pirate campaign. I am still getting over something, so bear with me. But last time we left the party, they had left the cave beneath Devil's Thumb and made their way back to town where they discussed their plans on how to deal with whatever the current infestation is beneath Devil's Thumb. The mystery deepened as it's unclear of why the iron was stolen in the first place, and it was still unclear of who stole it. But they do have a few culprits in mind. After taking cake to fulfill their promise to the Briganock in the mine, they found gnolls ambushing the town. On top of that, another gnoll vampire had appeared and began to menace them, but seemed to want to get things over with and directly attacked. After defeating it, and the townsfolk began to mill around to try and assess the damage of what happened, Goldie Jones, the reporter, dashed over and looked at the body of the gnoll vampire and exclaimed that its name was Giles Nelson. And that is where we left things off. So, Chauncey, you are standing over the body of this human male, pretty average, brown eyes, average hair, average weight, um, kind of slightly curly hair, definitely wearing what appears to be some sort of miner's outfit, laying on the ground, very clearly having been damaged in the same way that you damaged it. As Goldie is staring down at him and has just said, Giles?
Mm-mm-mm. But
You know this, gentlemen?
Yeah, he was one of the miners that went missing. There was, and she flips through her notebook. If I remember correctly, there was Bill Martin. He was a human. There was Zed Calico. He was a tabaxi. Sally Ann Hart. She was a dwarf. Giles Nelson. As you can see here, Sheila Dixon, who is also a human. My husband Marcus Jones, who of course was a human, and Porter Dreg, who was also a human. They all seem to be the ones that have vanished. Um, but I don't know what happened here. If this is how, what's Giles doing here? I thought you are muted, Chauncey.
He appears to have been turned into an old vampire.
Well,
which is very fascinating.
I mean,
That
it
has
certainly is, but and you can tell that she's already like scribbling in her notebook with her quill, but there's also a very clear look of confusion on her face of like, what's going on? And of course, this is when Pickaxe Peggy kind of comes up and she's like, all right, so are you saying, because you said that not all the miners were dead, you found most of them. So do we have all the bodies accounted for with Giles?
Hey.
I think that should be all the bodies, right?
I'm not sure.
Let me real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, you found 6 miners in the cavern. There were 7 of them missing, and now with Giles, who you have confirmed as being Giles, there are now 7 bodies, 7 miners.
Well,
Uh,
that's
Peggy, yeah, it appears that we found the seventh miner that we weren't sure on. I'm sorry, Miss Goldie. I don't think your husband's in this world any longer.
I'm afraid not.
And she keeps scribbling in her notebook, but at this point she's not ugly crying, but she's definitely doing that thing where like a tear falls down her face as she's like still scribbling away in her notebook.
Do you
Oh,
you need to take a moment?
well, if we want the newspaper to get out by tomorrow, I got to start working on the obituaries and making sure that Goldie take a break.
I think the townsfolk would forgive you for letting the paper go a day.
I may be wise.
And she kind of, you can see her for a moment as she's holding this pad of paper. The quill is shaking, like she's almost fighting herself to not keep writing. And she finally wins the battle and kind of drops the notebook and her quill to her side. She's like, "You're right. I'm 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 just gonna go." And she turns and walks off into the post office, the ramshackle post office. Well, I don't know if this gets you any closer to unraveling this mystery. It seems there's a lot of moving parts here that we were not aware of. Hmm.
Well,
Um,
we still have no idea what exactly initiated the creation of all of these critters running around here.
well, we do know the location source.
It's all coming from the Devil's Thumb, so
Looks like
That
we
would
have
be the next best place to go looking for our deaths.
looks like we
Well-
go back to spelunking.
Well, you know what? I'll pay you your 1,000 gold. And I think maybe tomorrow morning we're going to officially disincorporate the town. With this many miners dead and not really much else we can do, the mine's running dry. We have at best 5 or 6 years left. If that, if we can even squeeze that out, we might only have 1 or 2. I think at this rate, tomorrow morning, we're going to disincorporate the town. Twin Gulch will be no more, and we'll let people scatter off to the winds and find their own way through life. It's very clear that if this is going to be an ongoing problem, we might as well get as many people to safety as possible with as much sunlight as possible. So tomorrow morning, I'll give you 1,000 gold and you can head on back to Drake's Ridge and tell them the sad news. We'll get to tearing these buildings down and separating out the wood and the rest of the treasury and go at it from there.
You do what you have to do. We will do.
I'm real disappointed to hear y'all got to close up a little bit ahead of schedule, Miss Peggy, but I do appreciate your hospitality, and I think it is mighty brave of you to consider the safety of your citizens.
Well, it's the only thing we got. If we don't got people, we don't got miners. If we don't got miners, we don't got money. So better to take care of the people than to try and take care of the money. It's hard out here. I'm sure most of you have lived here long enough to know that these towns, they come up, they go down. This is the way of life. We are a land of tumbleweeds, and sometimes we just got to get on rolling a little faster than we think we do.
I have a suggestion though. So the creature things, the little tiny things, they are, what are they called?
The Briganock.
The Briganock. And they are connected to the earth, right?
I would assume so if they're living in the mine, and there's quite a few things connected to the earth that live in a lot of mines.
You said that an issue is that, you have no miners and you're having trouble finding minerals. M-
Well, that is a bit of a problem, but nothing that hunting around can't fix.
I have a suggestion. What if you and the Berganox came to an arrangement?
I mean, we already have a bit of an arrangement. They help out with the miners for admittedly not very much cake. They haven't exactly been able to pay them as much as they would have liked, but they get their cake from time to time. They, in actuality, as quickly as they mine, they don't always mine much. They might be able to eke out some veins that would be too much work for the bigger miners to get out, but they're not making any more than, say, a regular miner in a year. They might be able to move a lot of rubble, but it's moving rubble. That's not getting ore out. At best, they probably cover 2 or 3 of the miners a year, but that's not enough to sustain a town.
Did your miners ever go into the Devil's Thumb?
No, we the Devil's Thumb is kind of one of those things that people don't really like going near. There, something about it, that place just ain't right. Um, so we tend to not go to places like that.
Do me a favor. Make the arrangements that you must for the safety of your townsfolk, but hold off on disbanding the town until we return from going to the Devil's Thumb.
I highly doubt there's anything over in the Devil's Thumb. It's just a spire of rock in the middle of nowhere that things tend to congregate around because sometimes things get up on top and die.
Well,
Did we decide we were going back to the town?
just please give us a chance. And if there's nothing there, then we'll come back and you can continue with your plans.
Well, we're probably just gonna discorporate the town anyway, so you're giving us maybe a day, maybe 2 days. You're not giving us much time. Sure, it might be easier to divide things up if we have 2 or 3 days to do all the math, but push comes to shove, this town's probably gone.
Velantrios is looking towards his group and he's saying, "What do you guys think?"
I think we should get paid and go home.
We don't even know if there's anything up there anymore.
We don't
I'd
know if
rather
there's
not leave a bee's nest we kicked unattended, personally, because we never figured out who was stealing the iron and why they were stealing it and who sent an explosive corpse our way.
I feel
I
like the
agree.
people that know the answer to that question are currently dead. So unless you have a way to speak with the dead, I highly doubt you're going to get many answers.
is
Giles
that
would probably be the closest, but you clearly knocked the soup out of him.
Giles, the one who was like, "Ooh, you didn't help me," and then he transformed into the spooky stuff. That was him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds fucking open and shut to me, y'all.
You watch Chauncey's just Bloody May dragged his body away at this point towards the center of the town, and there's Chauncey had walked a little bit away. He's striking a flint over it. He's just like, we should probably burn the bodies, right? The last time
Honestly,
we
it's
left one of
probably a
these,
safe bet.
the last time we left a corpse of one of these things laying around, someone ate it and turned into one. So
Yeah, I think that's.
come on, preacher man. Isn't this should be your game, right?
I will also say, as Lovey May is dragging Giles away, you do see, now that you've like flipped him over and all of that stuff, in the same area that the other miners that you saw in like the feasting room were bitten into, he was bitten into, but to a lesser degree by the Knoll vampire. It's very clear these are the same sort of markings. So, because you are vampiric in nature and you have a little bit of an understanding, the typical life cycle of a vampire is a true vampire bites into a victim. They then, if they are not completely drained of blood and a few other things, turn into a vampire spawn, which means that they are in a way beholden to the true vampire. But if the true vampire feeds them blood, or if they drink blood from the true vampire that created them, they then turn into a true vampire as well. Assuming that the puzzle pieces are together, Giles was probably made into a vampire spawn, served whatever this Knoll vampire was for whatever his whims were, and then took the opportunity after you slayed him to become a true Knoll vampire.
Good for
The
him.
pieces, I will say that those pieces are very easy for you to fit together once you see the bite mark, once you see that he wasn't like ripped into or torn into, once you kind of remember that there was a humanoid figure that was crying out for help. The voice was the same. This humanoid figure was the same as the one in the mine. Pretty easy to put together that he was probably at that point in the mine already a spawn, already serving this Knoll vampire. And he just took a very opportunistic opportunity to turn himself into a true vampire and gain more power.
Lovely.
So is this just your way of saying that there's nothing further to do in that mine?
Most likely. Also, because you all went down there and you didn't see any ore. It was just caves.
Yeah.
All right,
Sometimes caves are
well,
just caves.
Summon my flaming sphere again. All right, Lovey May, toss him in there. Just start throwing bodies into my flaming sphere.
Oh.
Yep.
It's gonna
You
stink
all,
real bad for a hot minute.
yeah, you all use the flaming sphere to create a pyre of burning hyenas and gnolls and gnoll vampires and other things like that. And
Ooh.
just,
One of the hyenas, Chauncey's gonna just stop and be like, I want the pelt off this one, okay?
all right, make me a nature check. Nature check to get the pelt off.
I'm gonna guidance myself for a little help.
Cool.
Let me double check. Is nature? Oh yeah, I have proficiency in it, so that'll be cool. Okay, so that's a 21.
Oh, yeah. It probably takes about an hour of work, but you managed to carve this pelt off of the hyena, and you now have a hyena pelt that you'll need to clean. So make sure you add 1 hyena pelt to your inventory.
I've wanted to try different finishes for some of my stuffed animals, and I pelts and furs always make a beautiful outer thing, or a shell, a skin, if you will.
I'm delightful.
All right.
Yeah, brilliant.
So now that you've burnt them all to a crisp, I'm going to say it's probably after midnight, maybe 1 in the morning by the time you finish burning all these pelts or burning all these hyenas and gnolls and things in the center of town. People are beginning to settle back down. The mood is very somber in the town. It's very quiet. You occasionally hear like a coyote off in the distance. You hear the crickets. It's pretty quiet. There's not much going on as you all settle down and take your long rest. As you all take your long rest, 2 of you, well, actually, 3 of you get nighttime visitations.
Oh.
We'll start with You, Marcus, you wake up in Lila's hotel room as Lyla.
Oh,
You're sitting in front of the mirror as you are currently applying lipstick. And there's a moment where you stop, almost realizing it's a dream. The lights are very low. There's only the sort of beautiful Tiffany lamp, stained glass lamp, lighting your face. And once again, your reflection blinks and you see the gold and red eye. Well, it seems like you've been having some adventures.
quite a few. Marcus is gallivanting around, uh, dealing with all sorts of undead demonic nonsense. No idea what its source could possibly be, but it did wreak a certain amount of havoc on a nearby townsfolk. Troublesome, and they had to disband it, but it was inevitable anyway.
And there's very little you can do to stop inevitability. Speaking of inevitability, I have another small favor to ask of you. You remember that wanted poster you found? Well,
Hmm.
you found a few on the ship. One of them was named the Red Bandana.
I do seem to recall something like that.
Yes. Well, it seems that in your friends' enemies escape, the Red Bandana also may have made it out alive. He owes me a few debts, and I'm having a bit of trouble tracking him down. So if you can just keep an eye out for him.
Well,
I'm not asking you to accost him. I'm not asking you to attack or kill him. I'm just having an extra set of eyes out there.
well, if there's anything I'm good at, it is gathering information on people.
Very true. So make sure you keep an eye out for that Red Bandana.
I
And give
shall,
me a little hoot and a hollow if you see him.
I will.
And you drift back off into sleep. Jed, once again, you find yourself in Mazarendael's chamber. The absolute boiling heat as you stand amongst the red rock lit by fire, as you see Mazarendael chained to the dais. You've gotten out of the way. That's good. Luckily, you can return now. It's probably best that you do.
She's gone already?
She, my sister's fickle. She flies from place to place. She has her servants. There is one that is around, but I don't doubt that you could dispatch her if she comes for you. She's also a lesser favored one, Zoriah Thale. She is the one that carries the battle standard. She is also the one that carries one of the flames of Mount Celestia. You could probably dispatch her. She at best has a winged lion with her.
All right.
If
We
push comes to shove, I doubt you'll meet her, but if you do, I trust you can take care of her. Radiel, on the other hand, is far too strong.
right. Yeah, I didn't have any plans on fighting your sister. But it's good. We can return. It's safe now.
Yes, so far.
All right. I think we've finished our business here in this miserable little town. So we can come back home in the morning.
Yes. And at that point, you wake up in a cold sweat. Once again, as you usually do with a start, wake up on the uncomfortable cot, crammed on the stage of the town hall, drenched in sweat. Velantrios, you have a nighttime visitation. You wake up in a forest. Golden light streaming through the emerald leaves. You stand. This place feels familiar. It feels almost fey in nature. Seems for the first time you are getting a true vision from Titania. You almost by instinct walk towards a tree with an opening in its bark. You instinctively reach inside and pull out a wooden statuette. Strange, it's a wooden tower painted barn red. The paint is peeling and chipping, and you turn it over in your hands for a moment before suddenly you're in darkness. Flying overhead is a mechanical owl. You chase it, running and running and running and running, but you can't catch it, and it fades into the darkness. You're left panting, not knowing what to do. And then you feel the presence of Titania. And almost like a miner's light, the circlet of blasting that you have on your head begins to glow, almost like a miner's helmet. As you begin to look around, you begin to see ghosts forming, dead miners, and they all begin to point off into the darkness. And as you walk, appearing from the darkness is that same red tower. The red has turned from barn red to brick red. The paint has peeled quite significantly. You smell something that smells like a very acidic, caustic chemical. And you walk towards a spot on the ground that's lit. It's water, crystal clear water, and beneath it are coins. You reach down for them, but as your hand passes through the water, it burns. Your skin pucks and boils as you pull your skin away. One by one, the ghosts begin to walk into the water. And as they do, the water begins to lower and lower and lower until there is nothing except for the gold coins on the ground that you easily pick up. They're warm to the touch. And as you look up, you see a desk. It's Yvonne's desk from the tower. On it is a schematic for a water tower. And a barn owl is sitting on top of a ship in a bottle. And as you stare at it, you get the sense that that's not your ship personally, but it's a ship that you are allowed to use. And behind you is a map of a bay. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it feels like it's a place that you can go to. And for a moment, dancing in your vision, there are three creatures. One is a winged cat. You would know this creature to be a tressum. They're slightly magical creatures that can smell poison and see invisibility. There's also a walrus and a snake. Somehow they feel inherently trustworthy. You can trust these creatures, whatever they are, and why they're floating in this vision in front of this map of this place. You don't know. You then drift back off into sleep, and you get a feeling of goodbye. Not a feeling of abandonment or a feeling of goodbye forever, but a moment, a sort of feeling of goodbye for now, as in Titania is probably a little busy and may not be able to provide you with many visions, and this is the best that she can do. And you wake up as sunlight streams through the windows onto the stage. And it is probably about 9 o'clock in the morning, and you all have had a long rest. What would you all like to do?
Get paid. Trying to get paid.
Yep.
Velantrios would like to stretch before getting going
Paid.
along with the rest of the group.
All right.
Mhm.
So
Not
you all
bad.
head outside, and you see Pickaxe Peggy has gathered the 40 or 50 people that are currently the residents of the town around. And it seems that she is in the middle of a speech. You also see Cheyenne Pearson beginning to hand out bags. Pickaxe Peggy looks tired. She has like bags under her eyes. She's clearly been counting out money and dividing it up and all of that good stuff since very late in the evening. They're handing out bags of money. People are beginning to drift off. And she says, well, don't forget, we are having our memorial service for the miners that we have lost here at the town square at 6 o'clock tonight. Make sure you bring your own candle. Unfortunately, we cannot provide any for you. However, afterwards, you all will be free to leave. Of course, if you would like to help with teardown of any of the buildings, that would be mighty appreciated, and you will get a share of the lumber to use in your next house. Thank you all for this meeting. I will hopefully see you all in your travels, wherever you may choose to go. And she kind of then sits down on a stool that she clearly brought with her, and just kind of sits down and very clearly is very winded and very tired as she just
Oh, Miss Peggy.
well, it had to be done sooner or later. Oh, Cheyenne, if you could, I'm right on it. And he gives you a bag of 1,000 gold.
Oh, well.
If you would like
Yeah.
to stay until 6 p.m. to join in with the memorial service, you may, if you have your own candles, or if you can manage to get some off of the townsfolk. But other than that, seems our time is up, and you can take your horses and your wagon and head on back to Drake's Ridge.
With respect, madam, I think we'd much prefer to get on the road before nightfall. It is a long journey.
That is quite understandable. And I'm sure you have plenty of business to take care of back in Drake's Ridge before you go gallivanting off on other adventures, but I'm just hoping that this teardown process doesn't take very long. It's already taken quite the toll on everybody, especially on, well, of course, on poor Goldie. Um, this town was her life, and she wanted to make a newspaper, and it was already devastating when the post office moved over to Pony's Paws. But
She'll be making her own news soon enough anyway.
I'm sure, but she's probably got to cry it out. I think she has family over in Pony's Paws. She's probably going to head over there for a little bit before trying to find her way somewhere.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time, Madam Mayor. Oh, well,
Of course.
Peggy.
Yeah, I guess it is just Peggy now.
By the way, ma'am.
Well, I will let you all get on your way back over to Drake's Ridge. Of course, if you could put in a few good words for some people, if they decide to move over to Drake's Ridge, then that would be much appreciated, but I'm not going to hold you to it.
Of course. Anybody's welcome.
That is
Um,
good to know.
So how much gold is it?
It is 1,000 gold.
1,000. So 1,000
1,000
divided by
each?
4.
250 apiece.
250 apiece. It's only
Okay.
1,000 gold.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, 250 apiece. Yeah.
It's 1,000 for the group, so everybody gets 250 if you're dividing it evenly.
Right. Is that considered a lot?
Depends
I
on what you.
mean, for Gold Rush, yeah. unless you're trying to fund like a building, 250 is probably a pretty good amount of gold. But if you're talking about like Creators Hollow, people can blow through 250 gold in a month.
Because I just feel like something that I would want my character to do is to give his portion of the gold to help people relocate. Um, if that's something that would be
Yeah,
feasible.
you can certainly do that. You can do it just by handing it over to some random person, or you can give it to Pickaxe Peggy and she'll figure out how to divide it up, or how that all is going to work.
Yeah, because my character doesn't really need money all that much.
Very true.
So right off the bat, my character is going to ask who has the money.
Let's say we split it up and you have your own.
Okay, so we've already split it up.
Yeah.
So I hand my satchel of gold to Peggy, and I'm like, here, I don't really have any use for gold. Use this, give this to the people who you feel need it more.
Well, that is mighty kind of you, and I certainly will, as long as you're sure about this. Um, I'll get on dividing it up. I know there are a few families out there that probably would have wanted a few more pieces of gold here and there to fund their travel. She picks it up and she gives it to Cheyenne. Well, I think I at least am going to start tearing down some of these houses with the help of everybody else. I believe Cinnamon and Sugar Dust are over there, tied up near the post office.
Yes.
Thankfully, they were spared from the attack last night, so they are still in tip-top shape.
Oh,
Um,
I
and you
know.
can make your way back on over to Drake's Ridge.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor.
All
Good
right.
luck.
And so she begins to move off. It's very clear that there are a few people that are kind of sticking around and kind of commiserating and trading information and trying to make sure that there's ways to stay in touch with each other, while other people are just like, nope, we're tearing down the houses. They're taking the boards off of their houses. They're beginning to tear down the frame. They're beginning to pack. They're beginning to put together their ramshackle wagons in order to take them to wherever it is they need to go. Pickaxe Peggy is definitely doing, and Cheyenne are starting to do math, and they're starting to divide up the lumber between people. It becomes a flurry of activity, but there's still that sort of blanket of moroseness that is floating and hovering over the entirety of this town as it's slowly being taken off the map.
Okay. Well, nothing much left to do here now but gee up.
Fair point.
Let's go.
So you all pack up your bags, put them on the cart, and Cinnamon and Sugar Dust once again begin to trot off back towards Drake's Ridge. I'm going to say it's probably around 10:30 when you all manage to leave. And it's about a 12-hour journey, so you pull in very late at night back into Drake's Ridge. So what would you all like to do now that you've pulled back in? It's pretty uneventful. You know the way back. These horses are probably ready to go home.
Oh yeah, I suppose we should return the horses.
Yep. I would say that Gertie is probably not awake at this point. But Dez is probably awake. As you come to the general store and she kind of pokes her head out. Well, I see you returned. I was just canning up a little bit more of some of my habanero jam. If you'd like some on toast, I have some, although it might keep you awake. Um, I can just, I can, I'm sure Gertie won't mind me just letting the horses back in. Um, I'll tell her you took her, brought him back in the morning. Um, don't want to wake her. She's been working hard all day.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, we do know the feeling.
I'm sure. I'm not surprised.
Well, thank you, Des. I'm off for a nice soak.
Did anything happen while I was gone, Des? Any
Um,
sales?
Well, there was one. Um, I think you ended up getting maybe 60 gold off of this dress that Birdie ended up buying. Um, I feel bad. She wanted it, but I don't know. There was something that just didn't sit quite right. She was with that Caleb kid. He brought her in. Um, I was making a big fuss about how, oh, well, you wanted that dress and, blah, 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 blah. And she, well, she got the dress, but she didn't seem very happy about it.
Hmm.
So they paid 60 gold. You got 60 gold out of that dress. Um,
Thank you. Thanks for watching the. We had a long couple days. Thanks for helping me out while I was gone, Des.
yeah, I believe you have another stuffed animal surgery on the books. Um,
Oh, just look at the. Chauncey holds up like a horribly accurate amigurumi of a Knoll vampire he made on the ride back
Yep. Yep.
to
Of
go
oh,
with his
but
thorn. He's
course
gonna
he
make it wave at her.
well, I'm not sure how many children may want that. That may
Oh,
be
this
for
is just
the
it's the
collector's market.
prototype. Prototype,
Well,
Des. Prototype. I'm working out the kinks still.
all right. Well, maybe you should not put so many teeth in it. Um, but yeah, I think you have a stuffed animal surgery on the books for later, probably tomorrow. Um, but other than that, it's been pretty slow around here. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, there was this one lady. She came on through. She didn't really buy anything. Really pretty golden hair.
Huh.
Asking round for she wanted to know about the church folk round here. Um, she only introduced herself as Zora, and when she met with the church folk, she left. Um,
That was the same name that I'm blanking on
Zoriah
my
Thale
patrons.
was the name that your patron gave you. Zoriah Thale.
Okay, well, Zora, this is a hop, skip, and a jump away from from
Very
Zoriah Thale.
true. Very true.
Hmm.
Well, anyway, I'm probably gonna stick these over on the shelf, and then I'm gonna toddle off to bed.
Thanks, Des.
And I'm assuming you all are in the general store, I'm assuming at this point.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
probably want to leave.
as you all turn to leave, Yvonne is standing right there. She has a very bad habit of sneaking up on people. And she's just standing right there. And at first, because there's so few lights on, you just see like the reflection out of her eyes. as she's just standing there for a moment. Oh, I am so sorry. I forgot I can be quite stealthy.
Sweet honey ham. Yes.
I sensed that you have returned from your journey to Twin Gulch.
Well, what used to be.
Oh, what happened?
Bunch of people died. Miners can't mine, ain't no more ores. No
Well,
Things
that
all over the town
is-
this morning.
Oh, that is
The whole town
unfortunate.
just had to shut down.
I
Well-
mean, we saved some lives, though. If we weren't there, imagine how much worse it would have been.
We did that. We did that.
I had the feeling I would need to update my maps. Well, I called in some favors. There is some things that you can do. I will have an itemized list in the morning, don't worry. But we still, of course, need enough money to build the water tower that we are hoping to be able to build. It is probably going to cost about 35,000 gold. So any gold you can donate to the town would be great, as we are kind of on a tight budget at the moment.
Right.
So anything you can contribute, and of course, I will be continuing to put out your names for jobs, as well as trying to find someone that can charter a ship to the vortex. Not a lot of sailors are wanting to take inexperienced people into the vortex. But if you all have any other ideas on where you could go or what you could do, please share with me so that I can get into contact with the proper people. We did contact some forces over at the Blackensmith Penitentiary, who are offering I believe it was 1,000 gold. Yes, 1,000 gold for Mr. Reginald Ophidian, who you found dead. They are offering 1,000 gold. If you are willing to donate it, I can knock off some gold and make it 34,000 instead of 35,000. And of course, anything you are willing to donate to the town.
Yeah. About that.
Well, hopefully you all
We'll
get a good
discuss.
rest. Hopefully you all get a good rest.
Hmm.
I will go make sure that all of the itemized list is in order. But I will see you tomorrow, probably around noon. I have a few meetings and a few calls that I need to make. So probably more around noon than in the morning. Well, good night. And she
Thank you, Mr.
turns and out back to her tower.
Mhm.
Everybody always asking us to give money away.
That's sort of what I was thinking.
Isn't that what your job's all about, though, Virgil?
It's Virgil's job.
I thought we was saving money to rent a ship.
Yeah, I thought that was sort of the whole point.
Well, it sounds
But-
like she's calling in favors, and this is her way of making sure that you all are
Taken care
on
of.
the books, essentially, so that she can. Because it sounds like not a lot of people are going to want to take it, even for shit tons of money. Not a lot of people are going to want to take you on. Favors are probably the thing that's going to garner you the ship, as opposed to just pure money. So she is two birds, one stone. You go adventuring, you bring back money for the town. She builds the water tower. You have a repertoire as a group or a reputation as the group where she can go, look, they're experienced adventurers. You can take them into the vortex. Please take them into the vortex and send them off with a high profile crew. It
Nay.
seems she is trying to play a more of a political game to get you the ship rather than just chucking money at the problem. Especially because while Drake's Ridge is a pretty wealthy town that's coasting on the silver and gold from the Dragon's Hoard, they are still very much on a budget, as people are constantly moving into the town and need to be paid for certain jobs, and the economy needs to be stimulated and all of that other stuff. And of course, they got to spend on things like food that can't really grow in Gold Rush. So favors are the market at the moment.
Heard. Got it.
Favorite deals.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm gonna need to soak these bones.
Yeah, the good night's rest will be good, and then we can figure out the next move in the morning.
Suppose.
Sounds good to me. I am feeling very homesick right now.
Well, then I bid y'all adieu.
All
Nighty night.
right. So you head off into the night, bed down for the evening, and you do not have any nighttime visitations.
Marcus, go and wake up Lyla. If we can just make that situation happen in the evening.
Yeah, so you probably kind of run off into the woods a little bit and kind of shimmy shake and do your little thing and become Lyla, and then skitter on back into town with your boxes and kind of step on through.
So,
I would
Yeah.
like before bed to ask Birdie about Zora. I'll do a detect thoughts before I go talk to Birdie, just because why not? We're going to bed.
All right.
Um,
So I would say that she is probably in her bedroom
oh yeah, it's
reading
nighttime. Whatever.
reading a book.
We'll
She is
play
reading a
into the
book.
romance of
Okay.
I'll knock on
Yeah.
her door. Pardon me, Birdie.
Oh, yes. Welcome back. Did you
Thank you.
enjoy your time over in Twin Gulch?
Well, I wish I could say yes, but unfortunately, it's a rather sad tale over there. A lot of good people died. The whole town is disbanded now, also. So
Oh, that's unfortunate.
yeah, I was curious about when I came back in and turned the horses in to Zev. What's their name?
Des.
Des.
Des, not yeah. There was a Z. And when we turned the horses back into Des, she mentioned there was a strange woman coming around talking to the clergy while I was gone.
Yeah. I believe her name was Zora. She said that she was from Creator's Hollow and she was just um checking in. Um Father Hale seemed pretty excited to meet her. Um and of course Caleb did too. She seems nice. And your detect thoughts is up. So you hear her say that, but the surface level of her mind, she recalls memories of this woman. She did not seem nice. She was scary and very big. Not big in the sense of like physically big, but like her presence took up a lot of space. And Birdie did not like her.
Yeah.
Birdie was kind of scared of her, was scared of Zora.
Now, Birdie, why do I get the feeling you're doing that thing where you'd be a lot nicer talking about people than how you actually feel?
Um, I mean, she seemed fine enough. She just wanted to check in and see how everybody was doing and all that stuff. Nothing really out of the ordinary. But yeah, she swung on by.
Well, sounds like quite the character.
Yeah, I don't know.
You all right, Birdie? Seems like something's on your mind.
Well, yeah, it just feels like I don't know. I don't know. I just don't always feel like I don't always feel like I'm supposed to be here, you know? Like I don't quite fit in.
Like in the cosmic sense or like at Drake's Ridge?
Like how when the toy makers make puzzles, they don't make the puzzles individually unique. Sometimes they just use the same puzzle and put a different image on top. I feel
Sure.
like I'm the right piece, but I'm the wrong picture. Like I came out of a different box that used the same puzzle piece. The puzzle piece fits, but it doesn't look right. It's the right piece, but it's not the right piece.
Yeah. I think like every now and then when Jed talks to Birdie, he's like very like taken aback. This is one of those times that it feels there's a lot of parallels between the two of them and their lives.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
he feels very strongly the same. He's never quite had someone put it to words like that.
Yeah, she has a way with that. She's a very observant person. She's a very intuitive person. She feels a lot of ways about things, and she doesn't always say it, but she seems to trust you enough to say it, and
Yeah.
that
I
seems to be
definitely
how she
like
feels.
take some pause and I definitely look a little bit like, well damn. Like, and like eventually yeah, I mean oddly enough, I feel the same a lot of the time. It's kind of why I'm here, I think.
Maybe.
Trying to find the
I
right
don't know.
puzzle.
Right. Well, Caleb bought me that dress that I wanted from Og's Odds and Ends.
Did he now? Chauncey can say what you will. He's a fine craftsman. You should have seen the bacon he did.
Oh, I didn't know he baked. I thought he just made toys
Apparently,
and
he can do it all.
dresses.
Yeah, those little cupcakes that had little ringlets and flowers on them. I don't know how he even did it with the kitchen he was in.
That seems nice. Well, I should probably get off to bed.
Right.
I'm
Sorry
sure
for
you.
barging in so late.
That's all right. Um,
It's good to see a friendly face after a few days on the road.
yeah, sure is. Well, I'll see you tomorrow at breakfast.
Yeah, but you'll have a
My
good
mind.
night, Birdie.
Yep, and you all end up turning in for the evening. And that is where we're going to end the episode. So join us next week as they figure out what their next portion of the game plan is and how each of their visions are going to fit into the future of what is going on here at Drake's Ridge. So join us next week as we figure all of that out.